Beeple just sold an NFT for $69 million. What the heck does that mean?
Then we're talking about Conor McGregor selling his whiskey brand and Netflix dancing on Blockbuster's grave. Stay tuned.
It is Friday, March 12th. This is the Piper Rundown. We analyze business and culture to help you win. Today's rundown is presented by JetStore. JetStore has been providing affordable, reliable, and easy to manage data storage and cloud solutions to over 4,000 customers worldwide for more than 26 years. JetStore offers storage systems for private cloud hosting, video surveillance, Internet of Things, AI, machine learning, edge computing, data archiving, HPC, media production, medical imaging, and flight simulations. I said that whole thing without taking a breath. For more details, visit jetstore.com. Thank you for sponsoring the rundown.
Yesterday was a record-setting day in the art world. Christie's held an auction for the first 5,000 days, a collection of digital images that the artist Beeple had produced over the previous 13 years of creating. Beeple, also known as Mike Winkelmann, sold this collection as a single file in the form of an NFT, a non-fungible token. You may have seen the hype around this in certain circles on Twitter, on the interwebs, or maybe you didn't, in which case we're going to offer a very simple explanation. The same underlying technology that underpins cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum has a bevy of use cases because it is fundamentally a different database structure. And that database, which allows bunches of people to all not only transparently see who owns what, but verify the ownership of who owns what, is being applied not just to monetary assets in the form of those cryptocurrencies, but other assets. The term non-fungible thrown in front of that token is indicative of how these specific assets are different than the fungible financial assets. Fungibility basically means you can exchange one for the other. In an analog sense, you don't care which dollar bill I give you as long as it's the same 1, 5, 20, 10, whatever. A non-fungible asset cannot simply be replaced with another. If you think about Picasso's collection of paintings, you would not simply replace one Picasso with another. There is a hierarchy and a specificity to each respective work, despite the fact that they are all Picasso paintings. What non-fungible tokens do is basically digitize not only the collection of artworks in the form of Beeple's digitally based artworks, but it also, because of that database structure, creates a mechanism for verifying ownership of the original version of each one of these works and allows for second order transaction functions that could potentially benefit the artist in the future. So an example of that is once Picasso sold that painting for the first time, the next time it was sold to someone else, he saw no returns to that subsequent transaction when it had probably accrued in value. In a environment where it is hard-coded into the piece of art upon publishing the terms in which the ownership of that asset might change hands, you can hard code in every single time a transaction occurs, 5% goes back to the artist. For example, we're not necessarily saying that that's the case with Beeple's here. He might not necessarily need that because the transaction went for $69 million. And this is once again after 13 years of cumulative work, but a heck of an outcome for a prolific artist.
This is super exciting because Beeple is now the third most valued living artist, right behind Jeff Koons and had the other artist, David Hockney. Jeff Koons is famous for his aluminum sculptures and stainless steel sculptures. David Hockney is a pop artist, and Beeple is what I would call a surrealist digital artist. So he creates these digital images that are they seem to be taking place in a somewhat realistic looking environment, but with abstract and slightly unusual things going on. We will throw examples of his work up right now. But Beeple is just a fascinating person. So he is the originator of the everyday movement. He has created a piece of artwork for 5,065 consecutive days. And it's quite amazing to see the progression of his work. We will throw a screen recording up right now of his website where he has published every single one of these pieces. And you can see the progression from some of these more simple images to now these incredibly detailed surrealist digital landscapes and portraits. It is wild, and it just goes to show that when you actually dedicate your time to learning something, holding yourself accountable to perfecting a craft, it can pay off big time.
So an overnight sensation, an overnight success.
Yeah, that's what is pretty wild about this is he was actually already well known before this. He had almost 2 million followers. People really loved his work. He's worked with artists like Justin Bieber, Nicki Minaj. So he's been around, but to see a headline like this, it's incredibly exciting, and we're only going to see his success climb.
And the new thing here is the non-fungible tokens.
Yeah.
So as people hear about blockchain, they hear about crypto, they don't quite understand it. This is a different version of that same technology applied to further progress the digital economy. And NFTs are a relatively new phenomenon. During the last kind of crypto boom, people were selling crypto kitties on the Ethereum network. This is the same underpinning technology. But Beeple even shared that he only became familiar with NFTs in the last 4 or 5 months. So despite the accrual of that notoriety, this was the medium in which he was set to take off.
Yeah.
And the big players took notice. So this auction took place through Christie's. They're the ones that named him one of the 3 most valuable. This is a 255-year-old auction house, and their first time ever selling a piece of digital art in this format. They saw him sell previous pieces of art for $6 million, and they said, dang, I think we won a piece of that, as any good auction house would. And the other element of this story that's interesting is their first time accepting Ether as a form of payment for the auction, as opposed to what they would conventionally accept, which would likely be different fiat currencies and other associated assets that are more conventional and were around 250 years ago. The other relevance of this, there's a couple points of relevance. Number one, 91% of the bidders on this Christie's auction were new to Christie's. So if you think about the Christie's sales pitch to the artists that might consider auctioning there, they're basically saying, we have this relationship with all these wealthy, established art collectors. They come to us to buy art. So if you want to go from 6 to 69 million, you come here because we've got those clients with the dough in their pocket to spend. Well, 91% of the bidders were new to Christie. So it was actually Beeple also bringing the intrigue to their platform. A very savvy move by Christie's to get this, and I'm sure there was some negotiating between the other major auction houses to get this. 58% of those bidders were millennials, 6% were Gen Z, and this site got more than 22 million site visits associated with this release. So in the same way that we talked about certain companies old companies, BNY Mellon starting to custody crypto and them getting a little boost to their stock price because of that, every auction house, every person in the art world is taking notice of this, 100%. Seeing the hype, and now have permission to go whole hog towards this thing because of the success of this. So this is the success that will beget more success, not just for Beeple and his rising notoriety, but also for the other creators in the space. Mm-hmm. Is there the possibility that this is a bubble and that we are in a heightened state of overzealous bidding on the new hypey thing? Yes. But also, the underpinning technology is here to stay. There will be art sold in an NFT form. We'll probably get a better branded name, hopefully, by 2030. But in 2030, this is something that will continue to happen in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. It obviously makes a ton of sense to the younger generations who might not have necessarily the dough to go bid on something of this high a tier, but they get the value of it.
For sure. And that's to me, the most exciting thing about the emergence of NFTs, more so in the mainstream, is I think that by 2030, maybe not by 2030, but certainly in the future, because of NFTs, because of blockchain, the general trope of the starving artist will become less and less relevant. And I think it will reach a point where kids of a certain generation will not even understand that phrase. I think that...
See, I would actually say, I would say that those will still exist, but it will become less acceptable because there will be so many outlets to which you're just lacking any, you're like almost like an explicit anti-capitalist, unwilling to sell your stuff because the tools will be so plentiful should you want to.
Exactly.
And if you have the skill to make something people want, that's the other part of it.
Yes, definitely. And it goes outside of art too. Like NFTs are being made out of sports highlights, and Jack Dorsey is auctioning off the first ever tweet as an NFT. And it's kind of taking the world by storm, and people can make an NFT out of anything. And I think, like, in the same sense that if you have a media company or if you have a YouTube channel, you're automatically like a public figure or you have to put on a show of some sort. I think that at some point, if you own a company, if you create any meme, if you record or document any event, people are going to, like, no question, be making those things into NFTs and putting some sort of value on it and be making money from it long into the future.
We're going to continue to talk about NFTs on this channel. We actually will be dropping our own NFT within the next month. So if you want to stay attuned to that and all the other business stories of the day, make sure that you hit subscribe, ring the bell so that you're notified every time we drop a new video, because we do that consistently. And give us a like and a comment, your takeaway if you're interested in NFTs. If you don't see yourself ever buying one, let us know why in the comments. But speaking of spending money on things, Beeple, I don't know the correct pronunciation, the holding company that not only is the founding company behind Jose Cuervo Tequila, but is now a tequila conglomerate in Mexico, has bought the remaining 51% stake of Conor McGregor's proper number 12 Irish whiskey. Conor launched this whiskey shortly before his fight with Floyd Money Mayweather. And at the founding, I'm just going to call it Beeple. I don't even know if that's the correct pronunciation.
That's how I would guess. I don't know.
They helped serve as the actual creator of it, and he's responsible for all the branding, marketing, and associated efforts. They took 20%. In 2020, they increased their stake up to 49%, and now here in 2021, they paid 112 million euro for the remaining 51% of the company. So an enormous liquidity event for Conor. You can back into a rough valuation of the entire company being worth slightly over $220 million US, because we're Americans and that's how we think about things. But a huge win, yet another of these celebrity brands, celebrities translating their brand into an alcohol company. And here's my fun little fact. Do you have any other thoughts on the topic generally?
Not really.
Do you know why sometimes whiskey is spelled with an E or without an E?
No.
It is based upon the country of its origin. So if the country has an E in it, America, Ireland, they put an E in the end of whiskey. But in Canada and Scotland, Scotch whiskey, the whiskey is spelled without an E.
No way.
Yeah.
That's wild. Oh, that's so fun. Fun fact.
Yeah. But also a big pickup for Beeple. They've been known as a tequila company. They've gotten some lower marks on the quality of the whiskey from whiskey aficionados, but the Irish people love Conor and have catapulted it to the 4th globally largest whiskey brand.
Shows the power of a personal brand.
Facts. And the Irish love their whiskey. So if you're talking about an Irishman selling whiskey, that's also a great business to be in. But very, very exciting story. We're happy for Conor and all the people involved. Our next story is such a cool move. It's such a savvy PR move. It's such a savvy recruitment move. Whoop is offering a $100 per month bonus to their employees for hitting the 85% threshold on their sleep needs. Whoop, as you may know, is a smart wristband, measures your vital, part of that quantified self movement, similar to the Apple Watch and these other wearables, very tightly associated with wellness. They claim to have superior functionality in certain elements, particularly in tracking the quality of your sleep, because it does not have a big head like the watches do. You can wear it day and night. And for hitting that 85% threshold, knowing that recovery is exceptionally important, not just your workouts, they are giving their team that bonus.
They're paying their team to be healthy, to make healthy lifestyle choices. I am all for this. It's such a great move, as you said, PR-wise, but like, if I am looking at any company to apply to, if I'm just scouring those LinkedIn job postings and I see that pop up in my feed, you best believe I'm applying.
I'm not sure how to pronounce his last names, but the CEO, founder Will Ahmad, I'm just not 100% sure how to say his last name. There's layers to it, right? Like, you're implicitly signaling to people what your culture actually is like. We are paying people more to get sleep, but the benefit of that is people are going to be performing at a high level, which is going to make them better at their jobs.
Exactly.
And so it's such an easy little hack to improve the performance of your team. Super savvy. Less savvy, more savage, Netflix is launching a documentary of the last Blockbuster, still based in Bend, Oregon. If you would have asked me, I would have said Blockbuster has gone out of business. Apparently not quite yet. There's one remaining store, and they are releasing a documentary about that store on their platform.
What a kick to the teeth.
A company that they put out of business. And the CFO in the trailer was like, they didn't put us out of business. Netflix put you out of business. Come on, fam. Come on.
Definition of dancing on the grave.
Yeah, credit to them.
Truly. Damn, well, that's the rundown. Weekend plans, Aaron?
Sleep. I need to catch up on sleep.
Nice.
It's going to be hopefully a restful weekend.
Get yourself a Whoop.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably haven't hit my 85% threshold this week.
I definitely not, but maybe next week. That's a rundown. Thanks for watching.